No matter what you're paying in taxes or to fill up your tank, a healthy dose of consumer spending has played a big role in the economic recovery. But a new survey says those free spending ways may be coming to an end. Sharon Epperson has more on the survey and why consumers may be cutting back on spending.
High gasoline prices typically force many Americans to cut back on spending, but lower gas prices aren't leading to much more spending. According to AAA, gasoline prices have risen in the past month to $3.65 a gallon for the national average. But they're lower than a year ago and about 14 cents below this year's peak. Despite the slide in gasoline prices in the first half of 2013, 80% of Americans have not increased their discretionary spending, according to a new Bankrate survey. But last spring, when gasoline prices were more than a nickel higher on average, more than half of those surveyed by Bankrate said that they had decreased their non-essential spending. Now that gasoline prices are lower, they haven't ramped back up those purchases. The problem? Bankrate analyst Greg McBride says consumers just don't have spare cash to throw around.
Household budgets are still very tight, and so even though we've seen a drop in gasoline prices here in 2013, it's not something that's translated into additional consumer spending. Only about 1 in 6 Americans has actually increased their spending due to the decline in gasoline prices. The payroll tax increase, 2 percentage points higher than last year, has hit many consumers hard.
I think it's had a pretty large impact in 2013. You can look at the modest decreases in gasoline prices, but they don't really make up for as much as folks who live paycheck to paycheck were damaged by the payroll tax.
The tax hike has impacted their spending and savings. The Bankrate survey found about a third of consumers feel less comfortable about their savings today than they did a year ago.
When gas prices pull back, particularly at a time when budgets are tight and gas prices are still relatively high, it's added very little oomph to the economic recovery.
Consumers are paying about $50 million less per day for gasoline than they did a year ago. But they're not spending that money.
Consumers are very, very cynical about gasoline prices. They've heard that the U.S. is in the middle of an energy boom with more crude oil production than we've seen since 1992. A lot of refining, and yet the prices they're paying are about what they paid in the last 2 summers.
Despite the slide in gas prices over the past 3 months, consumers are still cutting back, driving less and taking shorter trips, fearful of overspending. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Sharon Epperson in New York.